Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, also subscribe to my channel. In this video, we will talk about Top 10 Haunted Cemeteries, so make sure to watch the full video. I live just across the street from a cemetery, and this time of year, it's certainly not hard to creep myself out a little bit when walking the dogs after work, especially in the evening when the sun is sinking below the horizon, giving everything an eerie glow. But despite scaring myself, I can't say that I've heard of any actual hauntings or sightings that have happened there. That's not the case for these 10 cemeteries, which are considered to be some of the spookiest sites in the US. Here they are, in no particular order. 1. St. Louis Cemetery, New Orleans. There are 3 St. Louis cemeteries in the Big Easy, but number 1 is said to be the most haunted. It's the oldest for sure, opening in 1789 to replace St. Peter Cemetery, which burned in 1788. It's no wonder the cemetery holds some haunts, with more than 100,000 people buried in a section of land about the size of a block. You'd expect that a few of them might have a little unfinished business. The tomb that tends to attract the most attention is that of Marie Laveau, the famous voodoo priestess. People mark 3 X's on her tomb, believing that doing so will cause her to grant them a wish. 2. Stoll Cemetery, Kansas, the gates to hell. Oh, probably not, but you have to admit that a church reduced to rubble does spark the imagination. And the fact that the crumbling church finally fell down on Good Friday, also good fodder. Rumor has it that if you go up and knock on a rock in the rubble pile as if you were knocking on a door, the devil himself will rise up and answer. 3. Western Burial Ground, Westminster Presbyterian Churchyard, Baltimore, Maryland. It's fitting that the cemetery Edgar Allan Poe now calls home is considered one of the scariest in America. Poe's ghost has been spotted, of course, but another freaky story is that of the Cambridge skull. A minister was murdered, you see, but his head never stopped screaming, even after he died. The murderers finally gagged the skull and buried it in a block of cement to attempt to muffle it. But if you listen closely, it can still be heard. If you're one of the lucky ones to hear it, the story goes, you'll never get the sound out of your head and will likely be driven insane. 4. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, Chicagoland. This cemetery isn't only home to apparitions of people. Apparitions of an entire house have been reported by a startling number of people who can all identify a similar white farmhouse with pillars and a porch swing. Bachelor's Grove also has evidence of the paranormal. The picture to the left was taken in 1991 and has appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times. What do you think? Altered picture. Other strange reports from Bachelor's Grove have included unexplained lights, faces in the mist, and faces that appear on tombstones only to disappear shortly thereafter. 5. Howard Street Cemetery, Salem, Massachusetts. With its witch hunt history, it seems safe to assume that Salem is probably one of the most haunted places in the US. The oldest cemetery there is no exception. In fact, one famous resident of the grounds wasn't just buried there, he died there too. Giles Corey was the only person to die by torture during the witch trials. Corey refused to admit guilt or innocence regarding his use of witchcraft, because either way he answered would allow city officials to take his property. So the sheriff made Corey lie down in a hole in the middle of the field and then added stones to a board placed across his chest. More stones were slowly added until Corey was eventually crushed to death 2 days later. Now Corey is said to appear in the cemetery right before tragedy strikes the town. He was supposedly seen just days before the Great Fire of 1914. 6. Resurrection Cemetery, Chicago. Between this and Bachelor's Grove, Chicago's a scary place to be. I know you've heard this ghost story before, and this might be the place it originated. Many years ago, a girl was walking home one night after a dance. She was hit and killed by a car, and has spent the last 80 years hitchhiking to the cemetery. When a kindly driver accepts and pulls up to drop her off at the gates, she vanishes. In Chicago, this gal is called Resurrection Mary. Many people have reported seeing her or almost hitting her in the road, and some people have even claimed to have picked her up. While it sounds like one of those urban legends, there may be an element of truth. In 1927, A girl named Anna Norkus did die in a car accident on her way home from the O. Henry Ballroom. 7. Cemetery Hill, Gettysburg, PA. Might be one of the only places where you can experience a ghost smell, because so many died at the Battle of Gettysburg. It was impossible to clear the bodies and get them buried in a timely fashion. As you can imagine, the stench would have been awful. For quite some time after, people couldn't walk near Cemetery Hill without something to mask the stink of death, so they dipped handkerchiefs in peppermint and vanilla and held the cloth to their noses. To this day, some people report smelling peppermint at Cemetery Hill. 8. Boot Hill, Tombstone, Arizona. You might think Deadwood's Boot Hill would boast the most ghosts. After all, it's home to Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, and Seth Bullock, among others. But it's Boot Hill and Tombstone that has the photographic evidence of ghosts. To me, this one definitely looks like a Photoshop job, but maybe you can tell me otherwise. A tourist was taking a picture of his friend in Old West gear at Boot Hill and didn't notice anything out of the ordinary until the film was developed, revealing a man in a cowboy hat who appeared to be rising out of the ground. You can see it to the left or zoom in here. What do you think? 9. Hollywood Forever, Los Angeles. Hollywood just lends itself to ghost stories, doesn't it? So many broken dreams and scandals, and a lot of them seem to have ended up at Hollywood Forever. Some of the ghosts that have been seen include Clifton Webb, Virginia Rapp, the girl at the center of the Fatty Arbuckle murder/rape scandal, and William Randolph Hearst. Now, Hearst isn't actually buried at Hollywood Forever, but people have reported seeing him visiting the grave of his old mistress, Marion Davies. 10. Union Cemetery in Easton, CE. This cemetery is an oldie dating back to the 1600s, so it's easy to believe that it could be haunted. The graveyard is also known as the White Lady Cemetery because of the famous ghost that reportedly haunts it. As you might suspect, a mysterious ghost adorned in white roams the grounds of the cemetery and sometimes even ventures beyond the gates a bit and into the road. Like Resurrection Mary, drivers have reported hitting her when she appeared out of nowhere on the road. Other people have told stories of a set of red eyes peering at them from the confines of a bush or a tree. When I was growing up, high school kids, me included, loved to freak themselves out at an ancient cemetery and church called Mars Hill. It was way out in the country, which makes it extra scary. You even had to cross a crybaby bridge to get to it. Do you have a cemetery of local legend near you? Let's hear your most chilling tales in the comments. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.